Hello, everybody. Welcome to OnPodcast, the All Microsoft podcast, where we talk about Microsoft stuff on a podcast. And today we have a ton of Microsoft stuff to talk about. So we're just going to jump into it. We're no more meandering. The first thing offhand, we're going to be talking about Windows 11. We have a lot to talk about. Microsoft kind of spilled the beans a week before their event, and so we're going to pick them each and every one of them up and talk to you about them.
Well, technically, it wasn't really Microsoft. It was some person in China who uploaded a unauthorized, that's what I'm calling it,
Well, let's
Windows
put it
11.
this way. Microsoft security didn't keep them from getting a hold of it. So I'm blaming
That's true.
Microsoft for this one.
That's true. And that meant we were able to get some hands-on time with Windows 11. Kareem installed it on his devices. I installed it on one of my devices. Kip installed it on his Surface Laptop 3, and we've all been using it. And we all had a bunch of different impressions. But since this is a podcast, we want to tour you through some of the new features that you might, if you are not able to install it yourself, we'll tour you through some of the new stuff that is in Windows 11. And then after that, we have a special unboxing edition on our podcast of two new Microsoft products, the Microsoft Modern Webcam and the Microsoft Modern USB-C speaker. We'll get you going with that.
This might be our first live unboxing.
Unboxing, yeah.
So you unboxing fans, enjoy. The next thing we have up is the big Xbox Bethesda recap. It seems like Microsoft is intent on just owning June despite WWDC. So they had a big event that was, well, I want to say it was almost 2 hours long or something like that, where they went through all of the upcoming titles. I think they had, was it 23? 30. Or was it 30?
30 different games, 27 of which are coming to Game Pass.
Yeah, so they went through all of those. They even had a funny trailer for an undeveloped, unreleased game that kind of puts a little, mocked itself for not being finished. So we'll talk about that, and then we're going to do our fast recap, super fast, because we really want to kind of pour over the details of Windows 11. So that may be all of a minute long. And then we have our favorite section, which is the end of the podcast, where Arf gets to kind of play with all of his toys.
Yeah, we have week ahead, and next week, June 24th, is the Windows event. We all know this by now. We've been saying it for 2-3 weeks now, so we'll just highlight what we expect out of Windows 11. And then they also just announced a Windows developer event too, so there's some things going on that Microsoft might announce after the Windows event, so we have you covered with that. And then I didn't get it yet because FedEx is being FedEx, and they didn't deliver it, but I got a Dell Latitude 7320 detachable coming in from Dell for review. So I can't talk about my impressions, but I'll tell you what this is, and maybe it's a lot like a Surface.
Yeah, we've been eagerly awaiting the relaunch of detachables from people that aren't named Microsoft. So Lenovo has one, HP has a really nice one. This Dell one looks very promising. So for those of you who don't want to pay the premium for the Microsoft logo, there are more options coming this year, finally.
And now I'll let you get into it because you're the one who has Windows 11 running on 11 different devices.
Yeah.
So get us started here and let the people know, what is Windows 11?
I'll put this disclaimer out here. Unless you know what you're doing, don't mess with the ISO. Follow this video, follow other videos, just have them walk through it. I do believe that Microsoft will be sending out an insider build probably after the event. So if you just want to wait a few more days and you aren't savvy enough, or just, don't feel like you only have one main device, let us walk you through it. With that being said, Windows 11 is out, and it is a souped up version of Windows 10. For those of you who are interested, it is not a revolutionary design, which some people were promising. We're not going to name names, but it does follow a lot of Windows 10 inspirations and adds its own flair to it. With that being said, some of the first things that we know about this is that the build number comes in at 21996.1, and from all reports, and that's from Brett Sams, that's from Petrie.com, that's from XDA as well, and Windows Central, that this is the RTM version of this version of the build, which could mean a bunch of different things. It doesn't mean that this is what we'll be getting in the fall, but this at least means that at this point in time, whenever this was ready, this is the version that we're getting. Windows 11 is supposed to be coming in the final build as 22 or 22000. So we're not too far away from that. So, but The other thing being said is that the way that this is Windows 11 is built is that it's a living operating system, which means that they'll be able to update components, sort of like Android is doing for the betas right now for Android 12. So despite it being released as an official build, you might start seeing more components get changed through the Microsoft Store or just through regular cumulative updates that bring more functionality. So, and I only say this because part of what we got from Windows 11 seems to be a little bit bare bones as of right now.
And if you actually grab the ISO and you install it, it does actually run check for updates. So that's another hint there that it could possibly be one of the close to near final build.
Yeah, exactly. And just to kind of start going over some of the things that you'll visually see, if you install this or if we follow this video, some of the B-roll we got up, we'll start talking about the Windows 10X inspired start menu. That's the
best part for most people.
Yeah, that's the most flagrant of visuals that you'll see. They've not only centered it, but they've added some new icons, some updated icons. The start menu is now has rounded corners, apparently, rounded corners for everything. The search icon is bigger, it looks more like an actual magnifying glass. They've gotten rid of the elongated search bar, which was an eyesore to me. To me, that represented people who were just casual users. No one ever really went and updated it. I would personally go in and just make it the icon, but a lot of people had that long search bar. They've also added a widget icon as well, which is kind of put in the dock. I think a lot of these things you can adjust in settings, but the first three icons that are pinned to that taskbar are going to be the rounded icon start menu, the magnifying glass, and the widget thing. And again, we were just mentioning in our interview with our guests that you can adjust this to go back to the left alignment if that's how you feel muscle memory for that, or if you feel just more comfortable with that. So you aren't stuck with the Mac OS center bar, as some people have been referring to it as. It does look very similar. So you can put it back to the left side. With that being said, the start menu itself has been changed. If you want to walk through that.
No more live tiles. This is what made headlines. People, especially our writer, Brad, he was so upset that Microsoft killed off live tiles.
That just means Windows Phone is officially dead.
Yeah, it's time to move on, people.
It can't even come back in desktop.
But the start menu itself is now at the top, just like how it was in 10X. You'll have a list of your most frequently used apps. By default, you might see some pre-installed apps like Spotify or Messenger. These came pre-installed in the leaked build, so I'm assuming they will also carry over. But you could fully customize it. You have links to your pinned apps up top, and then you could click the All Apps button, and you see your traditional scrolling list of apps, just like it was in Windows 10. And you could right-click on an app and then pin it, and you'll see the icon instead of a tile. So it's kind of basically turned into iOS and Android and Chrome OS, where everything is just a static list of icons. And then underneath the icons, you have a list of your most frequented documents, which kind of really annoys me because I was using it for a day and I took 1 million screenshots, and then every screenshot started showing up in that most frequented document section. I had to right-click, click remove, right-click, click remove, right-click, click remove each time. But I'm sure in the final version, you'll be able to control what shows there and what does not. But the point is that they're moving away from live tiles, and they've redesigned the start menu for, I would say, a mobile-centric and a touch-centric world where it's just icons, it's just your files, and it's just everything you need to know. And by the way, everything is rounded. No more squared off corners. It's all rounded, and everything is rounded, and everything looks nice.
Yeah. With that being said, the start menu could be cramped for some, especially if we got used to. I think it's the 4th version of the start menu for Windows 10, because again, we have to take in consideration that Windows 10 start menu had to go through a lot of changes as well. I think it had 3 predefined sizes. You couldn't readjust it the way you needed to. You couldn't add more tiles. You couldn't add any of the added folders, individual folders like the File Explorer that would break into video, documents, downloads, things like that. So we've gone through 4 or 5 iterations of the start menu to get it where it is now. So hopefully this, if it's cramped for some of you, or like you who are seeing the recommended section needing more retooling, that's on board. But as of right now, the start menu it's nice, it's new, it's different. Like you, I had the same issue with recommended.
Yeah.
It's more like the quick access from the File Explorer, like the last thing you use versus like the app you use more often. But you also can add, like I said, the same settings from the start menu as far as being able to quick access File Explorer, downloads, videos, photos, and individual folders. Those
Yeah.
will all appear at the bottom next to your name. So that's still there if you need more granular interaction with the start menu. Moving on from the start menu, the other thing that you'll notice immediately is the animations. They are much improved. And, we always say that, whenever we used to joke around with the Windows 8 or Windows Phone, whenever we get an update, like it feels faster. That's what we always kind of said. This definitely feels faster. And I don't know how they've done it with the GUI for Windows, what they've done as far as accelerating the GPU usage of the operating system, but switching from apps feels more fluid. Scrolling, hovering over icons in the taskbar seems more fluid. The way that apps open on the screen are more fluid. The way that you shift or group windows is more fluid. That's the other thing I'll let you talk about is grouping of windows. But
Yep.
just opening those, they also bring in a bounce feature. It's an animation, just a slight one that you'll notice when you open new apps, so that you can easily identify which apps are being opened at the moment. It kind of borrows from Mac OS that way of the bouncing icon for a minute. It's not as annoying as Mac OS where it just keeps bouncing. This one just bounced for a minute. But with that being said, if you want to jump into the grouping or multitasking feature.
I also completely neglected this search box when I talked about the start menu because I was so excited about it. But you hinted at it when you were talking when you introduced Windows 11. But the search box is now actually a box itself in the middle of the screen, just like how the start menu is. And it was like how it was in Windows 10X basically, and also how it is in Windows 10, where you have the list for your different apps and different files and like specific searches up front. So nothing really new there, but it just floats now, just like how the Windows 11 start menu itself floats. But anyway, let me move on away from that and get back to what you wanted me to talk about, which was the new Windows windowing animations itself. Now, if you ever used Power Toys, or I think it is Power Toys, right?
Power Toys, yeah, and I think it's Fancy something.
Fancy Zone
specifically.
For me, this was the killer feature in Windows 11 and in this leaked build because it helps with your multitasking a lot. You just need to hover your mouse over the maximize button, which is in between close and minimize, and you'll see new ways to stack your windows side by side. And once you click it, it will remember how you clicked it, and it will group them together. So if you minimize it, it'll go back to your taskbar and it will group it together in the taskbar. So as you run your mouse along the bottom of the taskbar, you'll see that different group windows, like if Edge was grouped with Spotify or if the Mail app was grouped with the Microsoft Store. And it's a new way to manage your windows across Windows 11. That's a lot of windows in one sentence, but you get the point.
Yeah, I wrote about this too here on Microsoft about the windowing feature and how it, we always hear the mantra productivity. It almost sounds like just something to keep people going. But I believe this windowing feature adds, if it's just a matter of seconds, seconds still can equal dollars for some people in businesses. And what this does is basically allows you to choose all of your open apps without having to move your cursor or navigate down to the bottom of the taskbar. So, again, it just saves you from having to individually place every app in its corner or its section. So if you wanted to, and I think there are up to 6 if you have a widescreen monitor, there are up to 6 configurations. Normally, I think everyone else will just get 4 because of the limitations of the resolution in the screen. But you can do your, 1 by 1, 1 by 2, 1 by or 2 by 2 or whatever that is. And then for widescreens, you can do 1, 2, 3 in the middle, I think it was. But either way, once you click on them, as you said, it saves the state. So all you have to do is then just click on the app and it automatically puts it in position. So if you were like, I need to have an Excel doc open, I need to have a browser doc open, and I need to have my OneNote open, and all those things are already open. I just need to make sure that they're visible on my screen, and I need the Excel one the largest. You click on that group, that formation or that group, and what it'll do is bring that Excel doc into place, and then leave you to then basically just select, and it'll give you the option because you have the desktop view of all your apps, and just click on that app specifically, and it puts it in position where you want them at.
And other than that, they also, I think they changed it so if you hover your finger over a window while you're in tablet mode or in touch, you see more of the underlying window like in glass to let you know where it's going. But I'll let you get into the touch aspect now because you install it on your Surface Go, right?
Yeah, just before filming this, I wrote a piece about how Windows 11 has broken tablet mode, but it still has a lot of promise, surprisingly. And that's to say a lot because Windows 10 was on life support when it comes to tablet mode. So the fact that Windows 11 broke it, I spent 2/3 of the piece talking about all the things that are broken in it, but it's been the last third talking about what's promising. And as you said, just to get with the promising stuff, get all the good stuff about first. The touch targets are bigger. We do have a secondary transparent layer that allows people like me who have fat sausage fingers to navigate the UI a little easier. You don't need as much precision or a Surface Pen to resize windows or things like that. The animations, again, I can't stress how improved they are on this version of this. Also work when changing from portrait to landscape, which has been a huge pain point for a lot of people who have Surface devices or who have 2-in-1s or foldables that go from landscape to tablet, because it takes in industry time forever. In actuality it's maybe a second or two, but it's just annoying to sit there and have to wait for the animation to catch up to whatever it is you're doing. The same can be said for the positioning of apps. For the first time, I believe in Windows, the tablet mode, you can now have stacked windowing. So you can have an app, and when you have it in portrait mode, one above the other. I believe in Windows 10, you would just lose out to the one app. Yep. And that was something that had to do with aspect ratios. But not only are you able to have one above the other in portrait mode, which should encourage more portrait alignment for things, when you change it to landscape, it retains its positioning, which is very vital. Like we said, if you went from landscape where you had a side-by-side app, it would get rid of one of them and just make one of them your full screen. And then when you would go back in the landscape, you'd be lost. This way, just like on an iPad, if you turn it portrait or landscape, it retains the positioning of your windows, which is super vital. Now onto some of the not so good stuff. They've gotten rid of the ability to close apps, like officially close them. You can minimize them, but you used to be able to drag from the top of a window and take it from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen, and that would close it out. That's been deprecated in this version. Again, this is all being said with the caveat that this is a leaked build, unofficial, and probably isn't the last bit of it, so they could bring this or put this back. But for the version that we are all testing out, that's gone. The other thing is kind of annoying is that now instead of having the left swipe bring in your overview of your desktop and all your opened apps, you get this widget mode, which now has all of the things that people weren't super happy about with news and weather. That has now had its own dedicated swipe. So we're back to Windows 8 charms, unliked swipe gestures.
But there still are a couple of things that I liked about the tablet mode. Yeah, is they finally updated the Windows Ink space. I think that's what they call it now.
Huge,
so if you tap the pen, you'll be able to see apps that actually use the pen other than whiteboard. You can now customize, I think it's up to 4 or 5 different apps, and put it right there. So instead of going to your start menu to open OneNote and start taking a note, or instead of going to your start menu to open Photoshop and start drawing, tap the pen icon, then you'll see the app right there in the menu itself, and it's fully customizable. And then there's also the new touch keyboard, which was tested in the Windows Insider program and then was removed, then was added again, and then was removed and never made it into 21H1.
Yeah, no, I mean, to piggyback on what you said, the ink mode has been vastly improved. Maybe it's just because they're selling more pens, but not only can you load it up with 4 apps, the selection of apps has grown by yards. Used to just, like you said, you'd have a whiteboard, you'd have OneNote, and maybe snip and
Snip and sketch.
yeah, and that would be it. But now, like you said, if you have Drawboard, which is a PDF thing I use, if you have Adobe PDF, if you have OneNote, even if you have PowerPoint, things like you can pull in. I think as of right now, there are about 12 different apps
Yep.
on my setup that you can choose from to configure for the four in the icon down there. And again, there's a setting icon within the interface itself, so you don't have to scroll over to your start menu, hit the settings, or even hit the action center to get to the settings. You can do it straight from that interface down at the bottom. So again, that's been greatly improved. Like I said, there is promise for tablet mode, despite a lot of the stuff in Windows 10 being broken and not in it for Read My Piece. But I think they're on the right path as far as just having the one UI, because as we're seeing iPad OS gain more features from the desktop to become its ultimate UI self. I think Microsoft is doing what it always does: is instead of taking the scenic route and walking everybody through it like Apple does, they're going straight from point A to point B, and so we'll see them meet Apple somewhere along the line there, I think.
And then rolling through the list of features, another one that is improved, there are some new sounds. I'll pause. Let's not talk for a few seconds here. And I'll include the sounds for you to listen to with some B-roll, so you could be the judge for yourself and tell us how fresh it is. That should have been enough time for you to judge, but basically these sounds are now refreshed, and it's the first time since Windows 10 came out that we're having new sounds for common things. You plug in your USB, it sounds different. You have an error screen, it sounds different. You boot into Windows, it sounds different. You get an email, you get a notification, it sounds different. And it's ushering in a new era for Windows. This is the new Windows, and this is next generation Windows, as Satya Nadella would say.
Yeah, I think this kind of dampens the mockery that Windows used to get. There was the flagship sound you would get whenever things were broken, and it just carried on from every version of Windows. So when people wanted to kind of make fun of Windows, it was never an outdated joke. It was always like, oh, I mean, it still applies. So it's part of the reason why I think they moved from the blue screen of death to green screen of death. Part of these new sounds, I think, one, are just more modern. They are more subtle. They're not as jarring for people who have sensitive ears or who use microphones all day. I mean, earphones all day to do their work. They just sound to me more pleasant to interact with. Especially if you get tons of notifications. Someone like myself who gets a lot of notifications, the dampening of the sound for notifications is definitely welcomed.
And I'll let you get into I know we're pushing like 30 minutes here, but this is Windows 11, and it's okay for us to push very long. We want to make sure that we get you through the list of everything that has changed. And I'll let you get into some other of the aspects, which is the improved dark mode, the rounded corners, the refreshed action center, and the new icons. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, as we said, everything's been rounded. So in the Action Center, your notifications are rounded as well. I know that there are talks about an updated Action Center coming that is separated as far as functionality. So you'll have notifications in its own like grouping of a rounded rectangle-ish section. You'll have all of the expanded settings at the bottom in its own version, and somewhere in between you'll have some other group notifications in their own one. So you'll have basically 3 to 4 different separate boxes that align on top of each other. As of right now, it still carries the Windows 10 version, which has just the one long transparent shade. But inside that shade, you'll see that the settings menu at the bottom, the one that can be collapsed or expanded, all of those are rounded, really nice rounded sizes too. You also have the, like I said, the updated rounded corners for your notifications. As far as icons, icons play heavy in the start menu itself, so we're no longer just using the square. Yep. All the icons have been highlighted. The colorings look like they've boosted a lot of the colors for the icons. The contrasts are different. The fonts have already been updated from the font selection choice that I think Microsoft ran last month, was it? So your fonts have been updated as well. The other thing I believe is, again, the widget panel.
Yep.
Has been improved. And by improved, I mean, I guess it's subjective. If you weren't a fan of it, then it's just more.
It's just a port of news and interest, which now lives in a new icon in the taskbar.
Yes, this is both a positive and negative for me personally. I want to have more access to actual third-party widgets. I think if they can get that in there, it'd be amazing. If I were able to put my PWA of Twitter and Instagram in some of these slots, because it looks like, as of right now, it's broken into weather, money,
MSN
sports,
stuff, just MSN stuff. Yeah.
But they all have their dedicated sections. So if I'm able to swap out those things, some of those things for some third-party stuff, hopefully for maybe the store itself, or like I said, it's PWAs, this would be super useful. As it stands, you can customize it a lot if you have an MSN or a Microsoft account from any, or your Bing searches, your history. You can go into the ellipsis at the top. And pick your news sources. So, if you're a fan of like the BBC and that's it, or if you like Political or Associated Press, the Wall Street Journal, you can choose all of those to surface you news as well. So you're not just getting, I think it was Kip was getting random like weight loss stuff and your top models from like TMZ, stuff like that. But you can go in and fix that. You can go in and fix your sports as well. Surface some of the news that is important to you. I know the Euro 2021 is up right now. So there's like 3 games a day that I'm trying to keep an eye on. Same thing for your watch list as well. So if you're a fan and you do use this stuff, you can get even more granular with it. It's larger. It used to just sit at the bottom of your task, or the bottom of your desktop screen near the taskbar. Now it's a shade that's about a third the size of your window. So again, just keep that in mind. It comes in from the left side. So again, if you're on tablet mode, you swipe with your left to bring it up.
And it looks so fancy because it has like the glass effect behind
the acrylic,
it.
Yeah. The acrylic stuff. So like I said, it's becoming more cohesive overall. But again, if they talk about it on June 24th about third-party widgets in there, man, I think that'll be the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that comes to Windows 11 as well.
And then right next to the widgets icon is a new way to manage your virtual desktops. This is one of the other most exciting changes for me, even though I don't use it a lot. But now you could add virtual desktops through that menu, and it's at the bottom of the screen instead of the top of the screen, which is where your eyes would naturally go. And you could individually change the wallpaper on each of your virtual desktops, and you could drag them around. And if you have like a Surface, you could, I think it's 4 or 5 fingers, hold it down on the screen, and you pull, and you could go in between them really swiftly without having to use your mouse. It's a very nice redesign that I hope that it actually ends up in the final version of this.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I've been using it on my Surface Go 2, and that is, again, a super easy way to navigate between virtual desktops, is to place 4 fingers on the desktop, and you'll see an animation pop up, which basically gives it a 3D effect, like a drop shadow on it, so that you know that you've engaged the interaction. And then from that point on, you can swipe through desktops through that. So again, that's one of the more promising things. Again, we're doing all the visual stuff. We know that Microsoft is going to be talking about HDR. They'll be talking about the Windows. Is it the Linux subsystem?
Windows subsystem for Linux. Yeah.
Linux is going to be there, and it's going to be talked about. They're also going to be talking about Dolby Atmos. They're going to be talking about all of the tweaks prior to the most recent version of DirectX. So there are things that we haven't actually been testing that aren't available just yet that is going to probably sustain the rest of the June 24th event. So as much as we've spent talking about all the visuals, or at least the stuff that you can see up front, just expect to hear a bunch of that stuff as well coming up. And that's probably more important for the longevity of this operating system, the longevity of Windows 11 as the flagship operating system, than rounded corners and some new animations.
But it's a visual
and
stuff
the Microsoft
that.
Store.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of. That's what we're gonna talk about at the end of the show when we talk about that dev event. But there's a lot of rumors going around. I wrote a piece about it, and that's why I want to talk about it coming up, about some stuff, some big changes that could possibly be coming to the store. But all right. Go ahead. Why don't you introduce our guest, Kareem? Because I know me and you just had a little chat about Windows 11, but it's good to get a third face in here to talk about Windows 11.
Yeah, I'm hoping I pronounce this correct. It's Florian, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
No, it's please, you say it so everyone gets it right.
It's Florian, but it's
Florian,
fine. I don't mind. I work with people all over the world, so everyone tells me my name the way you do. So I kind of, in my mind, when I'm in English-speaking country, I always say I'm Florian because it's the way people say it.
But I want them to at least know. I mean, you have to teach people, right? It's your name. You want them to pronounce it correct. So Florian.
Yeah, not perfect, but it's fine. I mean, close enough. Yes.
I'll keep working on it. But you're back. You're back here, and we're here to talk about Windows 11. We've all kind of played around with it, but we want to know what your thoughts were since it's been out for, 3-4 days now?
Yeah, but I already installed it on 2 devices, so
I got it on 4.
And I got it on 1 because I'm not that crazy enough yet.
Oh, that's because you have a Mac somewhere hiding, don't you?
I upgraded first my desktop PC to it, so from the latest insider build, no issue. And I clean installed it on my Surface to see the full install experience. So basically, I tested it a lot over the last 3 days. I've basically done the last 2 of my workday on Windows 11. So yeah, is that crazy?
Yeah.
So, and actually, I'm pretty impressed. We have been, we haven't been there in the last decade. Microsoft promised that they would fix Windows UI, change a lot of things so many times. There was like Project Neon, a lot of them before. I don't even remember the name, but so many of them. But they already went nowhere, By the end, just upgraded 1 or 2 apps, and just by the onward it was done. But this time, they did a lot of stuff. I'm really impressed. I can feel really the Panos Panay touch there,
Yeah.
Because I'm doing pretty geeky stuff, I'm watching a lot of TV shows on my PC, and I'm switching resolution a lot because, if it's an American movie, I put my monitor at 24 Hz. If it's a European movie, I put it at 25 Hz. So this is just changing resolution, changing frequency, but there's an animation for that now. The screen goes out and back in, It just, wow, I mean, Windows has never been about details like this. It never cared about those kind of things. And I feel like this is Panos Panay. I mean, he wants everything to look nice and smooth and everything. And I have some kind of a macOS vibes in there as well. When you resize Windows, the Genie effect, the thing that
like the Windows Vista arrow effect that has been missing for like 10 years now is back.
Even Vista was not that complete because, you could see the window goes up quickly, but it was not that as detailed as the Genie effect of Mac, because in Mac you see the window really reshape as it goes out, and they have done something like this. When you move the window around, you can see it reshape, and there's some frame in between where you see the window getting smaller and smaller and resizing in real time. And this is the Panos Panay. This makes a much more smoother experience. And honestly, I'm pretty impressed. I like it. I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying, "Well, there's still the old desktop device manager, which is still." But of course, it is. I mean, they're not going to do that again in Fluent Design or whatever. They can't. I mean, some stuff at the bottom windows will always be an older design. But even with that, I know they updated all the default Win32 controls to something that look like WinUI. So it's not WinUI XAML, what very modern apps that would reshape and resize and whatever. But it does look a bit like it with rounded corners, new button, new radio buttons. It's the radio button window, I think, in English. So a lot of things like that, and all of those looks like the same ones that we use in modern WinUI apps. So it's not perfect, but it will never be if you run 30 years old software. And in my opinion, to have 30 years old software looks good enough, close to modern one, is quite an improvement on Windows. Because Mac OS does not do that. Mac, every 5 years, they just dump, everything that came before. Like, everything that came before Intel in 2005, poof, outside. If it's things that come before x64 bits in a few years back, poof, destroyed, It's like, they just dump all backward compatibility in a few years. They have managed to make something looks quite good while still managing 30-year-old compatibility. I think it's really, we have never done something like this in Windows. I mean, it's just, it looks like a very much more current experience that we have had for the last 10 years ever since Windows 8. I mean, in Windows 8, remember, you click some place and poof, you were back in Windows 7, basically. It was another OS almost. And right now, it just, it looks nice. Honestly, it's just this. Windows looks nice, and it's the first time it's been looking really nice in a decade, I feel. So it's a good start. And it's
so for you.
Yes.
So for you, the best part is the way that it looks and the way that it behaves, and it's not necessarily all of the things under the hood that people are complaining about that are missing.
Well, no, yes, it's mostly that. I mean, I've been complaining about Windows UI since Windows 8. Sorry. I mean, I love the Metro part of Windows 8, but you got out of this and it was another OS completely. In Windows 10, they updated the desktop a bit, but Metro Design 2.0 was not really the same thing. It was still a bit of disjointed, And for the first time, I feel like we are slowly going toward one current UI, and this is good. Of course, it's still work in progress. It's not perfect. Some people are complaining, but it's a leaked build. I mean, it's not finished. Lots of things are still missing as well.
No, I was saying that we talked about this off mic, like when it first rolled out, that I was super unimpressed, and it's grown on me because, I had dealt with the ISO like everyone else did, the VM version of Windows 10X, and it was, it had some visual cues, but for the most part, it was just Windows 10 without any of the advanced like animation or the sped up frame rate and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I'm good on this, because I'm in the industry and everybody was already talking about it. I wanted to, I had FOMO, so I downloaded it on one of my devices and started playing around with it, and it's like I said, it's grown on me. As you mentioned, the animations are a big part of that. I think it's accelerated just the fluidity of the operating system, which makes you want to use it a little bit more. You're not just getting a jarring window pop up in your face, and you get to see, as you said, it kind of developed from the taskbar. I think they also added like a bounce effect to all of the icons at the bottom to let you identify what app is being used at that exact moment, so you don't have to do like the hover over and stuff like that. And I mean, we'll find out all of the under the hood stuff that they're going to be talking about on the 24th, but as a leaked build and just kind of a proof of concept, I think this is pretty good.
It is, yes.
So one question I do have for Florian. I know I just cut him.
No,
you could finish what you were saying.
No, it's fine. I don't even remember what I was going to say, so it's fine.
You saved him.
I was just going to ask him, is there anything, I know you like the visuals and you like the way it flows, but is there anything as a Windows Insider MVP who has played with all of this stuff for many years, is there anything that you think Microsoft should improve in Windows 11?
Yes, quite a bit. I honestly, maybe I'm in the minority, but I hate the new start menu. I feel like it is terrible to use in my mouth or something like that, There's no way to quick access settings. It's just not enough stuff on the first page, I used to have a lot of tiles all over my screen, so I need to click all around and just find point and stuff and click. I just don't like this new start menu. But I mean, it certainly works. could still improve. If you remember the first start menu in Windows 10 first build, I mean, it was kind of terrible as well. So just there's hope for that. And there's also the new taskbar. I mean, they redid it completely. So it's still a bit early, but I think it's just unfinished. If you open too many apps, you can't see the ones that have been were beyond your taskbar. So I think that will be fixed because I don't see them shipping it like this. I don't think they would. I mean, people are not tech savvy enough to just alt tab to find the stuff. They need to be able to find it on the taskbar by themselves.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think if they do still, I mean, if they're pressed for time or whatever the roadmap is, and they have to ship it like this, I think that the out of the box experience should at least let people know that there is a left alignment for them. Yes, if they want to go back to if they want more real estate, or if they just want to, if they have muscle memory for that, because we've all seen the center ones, but you can go into settings and move it back over. When I first downloaded it, that's the first thing I did, and I forced myself to use the center one now, and I've actually, like I said, it's grown on me. But I think out of the box they should say, hey, are you used to Windows 10 like this? You can still have it. If not, here's the new version.
And Florian, off chat, I was talking with Florian about the way that out-of-box experience, you could actually restore settings that you have on other devices now. This is something that I didn't try personally because I just upgraded my existing Insider PC from 10 to 11. But Florian tried the entire out-of-box experience, and from what he's saying, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's back to the way it worked on Windows Phone on early Windows 8. It's asking you had already had one device on Windows 11. Do you want to restore settings on app from this one? And it doesn't seem to work properly right now. I mean, to be honest, it didn't restore apps. But I think it's just that it's unfinished, and maybe it needs a new store, Lots of people are saying that a new Windows Store is coming. Yeah. We don't have it yet. Maybe it will need that in order to be working.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there are two big missing pieces, or three actually. I think the File Explorer still, whatever changes they're going to bring to that. Mm-hmm. The store is a big missing component because that could bring a bunch of additional settings, updates to all of the apps, the inbox apps that are supposed to be getting visual designs. And I think they're supposed to be doing some more tweaks to settings themselves. And I'm sure there is code in there to change the size of your taskbar icons right now. So you can there's three different sizes you can change that. I think it's a registry that you can go in and do it if you want to do it today. But I think by whatever build they release on the 24th might have that. So again, there are things in settings that hopefully they'll bring in. I just mentioned RF that I wrote a piece about multitasking, like the tablet features. And I think that they're going to be I'm hoping that they're adding settings to customize the finger gestures, because as of right now, I think Windows 11 is really broken for tablet mode. Yeah. But if
I'm not sure, to be honest, it's not that bad. Have you tried the 3-finger swipe?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The three-finger swipe, 4-finger swipe.
You could minimize and maximize with that, but you can't actually close with that. Kareem was telling me off camera, they removed the gesture where you pull it down and close windows.
Yeah, so this one was in tablet mode, and we'll still use tablet mode, honestly.
I mean, yeah, right. But I had a Surface Go 2, and I figured, I'd at least try it out because, for the longest time, we kept hearing that, at some point, Microsoft's going to focus on Windows tablets. They're going to focus on Windows. I mean, they sell a Go 2, a Surface Pro. Those things are designed to be part tablet, part desktop. And so, if I think there's a Dell that has a new version of a 2-in-1, Lenovo's bringing out 2-in-1. So if they're getting OEMs behind tablet 2-in-1, so let's have the operating system match that. So when I first put this on here, the first thing I did was try and swipe down to close out an app, and I just had a bunch of apps that I couldn't get to because I put them at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I did the same thing on Windows 10X when I first tried it, and I got used to not having that, so that's why I didn't try it either. But I still like the multitask. You do that. You do 3-finger, left, right, and you switch apps. This is very good.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Again, I'm hoping that's part of the out of the box experience that they start to walk people through, because they also have to get people used to, for those of us who use the virtual desktop or desktop mode to see all your open apps, that's gone now, and it's been replaced by the widget thing. And so it's going to be very jarring if I want to quickly use my hand if I'm holding a device to get through my apps, and all of a sudden I'm just getting the widget that I didn't want. So they got to at least let
right.
people know about that.
All
But I
right,
mean,
but
on the whole,
go.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. But it's funny. Have you seen back a few weeks ago with the Windows Insider stuff? They kept telling us, we ship you the latest version of the code that our engineer have compiled. You know, there's no hidden stuff, nothing. We ship you what we have. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Well, again, they didn't
And
ship
then-
this one. We just found it.
And then they also paused all of the builds and like we're only servicing the pipeline. And they thought by doing that it would stop any leaks, but nope. Some guy in China leaked the entire Windows 11 online, and now the whole world has it.
Yeah.
I think there have been no reaction from Microsoft whatsoever.
I think they're suing somebody.
Today they said they sent a website in India a DMCA notice, Digital Millennium Copyright Notice, to take down their article about how to download Windows 11. So they're taking action slowly but surely.
I was going to say they're about 4 days late.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like someone, you know, on the beach trying to stop the tide.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the Windows Insider, not the Windows Insider, the Windows Twitter also sent out a tweet like an hour after people started reporting on Windows 11. This is just the start. Find out more on this. So
Yeah.
I had the theory that it is part of some grand scheme by Microsoft to build interest in Windows 11. And then when Panos Panay comes out on June 24th, you'll be like, nah, we skipped 11. Here's Windows 12.
That is a big theory.
But that said, I think we're short on time here today. But I want to open the floor for Florian to tell us any final thoughts that he has on Windows 11 before we let him go.
Or predictions for next week.
Next week, yep.
Most of Windows 11. Well, honestly, I'm happy with it mostly. I mean, it's what I hope for. And I think it's a good thing to change the number because I've seen, you know, on French TV, people reporting on that, you know, on Windows 11.
Really?
On the news. And I think if it had been Windows 10, Sun Valley, whatever, you know, people would not have reported on it, you know.
Yeah.
The fact that they change number, it gives them an opportunity to really relaunch Windows anew, and this time do it good, you know, because last time when they launched Windows 10, it was half finished and it took a few years to really finish it. So this time do it good and really for the first time around and have a good tractions.
Yeah, I agree. I think if I had to guess, I would hope that they put it on new devices like the Surface Book 4 and the Surface Studio to kind of be like, here's like, you know, not only do you get a new operating system, but these are the devices that it, you know, really shines on. I mean, it's something that it's from an Apple playbook. Yes. You give them a new operating system and a new device to play it on. It's
very likely. I mean, it's Panos Panay. I mean, I think it's likely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see him just talk about software only because I don't think he's ever done an event where it's just software.
Wasn't that the 950? I mean, he looked like he didn't care much about it, but didn't he present the 950 a long time ago?
He did, but he brought something else out with it. The 950 was like the first half of the event. And he wasn't really into it. He was like, "Oh, here's the Lumia." I forget what the other half of the event was. It might have been for like the Surface Laptop 2 or something like that. He brought that out. Was like, I talked about that for like 20 minutes. Now the real thing I'm really interested in.
Well, that said, we want to thank you so much for joining us, Florian. It's really refreshing to have another face on the podcast and a familiar face because this is the second time we've had you, and we hope to see you again next week on the show as well.
Yes. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming back, man.
All right, thanks for coming.
Enjoy your night.
Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, I'm tired.
I think we spent like half an hour now talking about Windows 11, and we do apologize if we missed anything. You could let us know in the comments, but we have it thoroughly covered over at On Microsoft. Just go to onmicrosoft.com and then look for our header at the top of the page and click Windows 11, and you'll see all the Windows 11 stuff that we missed.
Oh, and we'll be back next week after the event to cover everything that we missed this week and everything that was talked about in both the event and whatever they discussed with developers later.
And then you could yell at us and say, you two were completely wrong.
Exactly. Now on to the fun stuff. Now the stuff that makes use of all of Windows.
It's time for an unboxing. We have two Microsoft products here to unbox. We have the Microsoft Modern Webcam, and then we also have the Microsoft Modern USB-C speaker. Now, just give me a minute here to figure out my setup, and I will be back with like a professionally looking setup that's not me holding everything up to the camera for a minute.
While he's setting that up, we'll kind of walk through a little bit of what Microsoft has talked about for these devices. We knew that they were coming out, and these are specifically designed for conferencing. So I think, if you're looking for a portable USB speaker to kind of play music to on your laptop or whatever, this is not the speaker for that. But it's supposed to be enhanced and optimized for Windows, for Microsoft Teams. Each of these devices, I do believe, carry a Teams button for dedicated functionality. I think for the speaker or microphone, if you press the Teams button, not only does it launch a call, but I think it also will help you mute any outgoing audio as well. So, for those of you who are talking about your bosses but don't want your bosses to hear, there's a dedicated Teams button that should mute that. The same thing for the webcam, I believe, that there's a dedicated Teams button which should launch you into a meeting from there. I don't know how often you'll be doing that from the webcam, but obviously the true determinant of how well these are, how well they might succeed, is the actual functionality of them. We'll hopefully see with Arif how the fidelity is for the webcam. Because the webcams are becoming super important, and for the speaker, how well it picks up not only your voice, but perhaps maybe surrounding audio if you are, using this to conference yourself and maybe another person in the room with you or whatnot, or if you just, again, needed to isolate sound around you. I know sometimes I do conferences with my girl. I have little girls who run around in the background, and I just needed to focus on me the most. Now, again, it's not noise canceling. I don't have sound dampeners anywhere in the room, but if I needed to just, omnidirectional pick up my voice, maybe hopefully the speaker can do that. As far as some of the details for it, the webcam, I believe, is certified Teams and has a 78-degree field of view. It supports up to 1080p video, so that's obviously much better than what you have on your laptop as of right now, depending on what your laptop is. It also has a privacy shutter and an LED light to indicate when it's on. So again, these are all things that so you're not caught doing, again, bad mouthing your boss or coworkers. You'll know when the camera's on and when to be professional. As far as the modern speaker is concerned, that has, again, we said an easy to use button, which helps move controls and gets you straight into a meeting. I believe for the prices, the webcam starts at $70 on Microsoft's website. The speaker's at $100. I'm hoping sometime in the fall that these prices come down, maybe for a little bit, and I can pick up one of these bad boys for like 50 and 70 or something like that, and get a nice little setup for portable stuff when I go.
All right. So do you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. I think my stalling time is over. People want to see the hardware.
All right. This will just be a demo for like doing live unboxings whenever Surface Pro 8 comes out in the fall. So
yes,
we're just testing the waters here, folks.
All right.
So first up here, we have the Microsoft Modern Webcam, and I did not open it, even though it came 2 days ago. I was saving it for the podcast itself. So
yeah,
Microsoft now does this thing like Apple, where they have the green thing. You pull the tab, and it loosens it, and then I guess you could slide this out like this. Oh, there's another thing on the side. There's two of them. Yep.
It's like a freshness seal.
And then here we go. We have it right here.
Wow, that's pretty nice looking.
It's a nice box. I hope you could see it clearly because I'm using a webcam on a tripod, and I'm not looking at my PC at the moment. But here it is, and I guess you would pull this up, and here it's holstered in its own cardboard cradle or paper cradle. I know Microsoft is doing things with recycling, so I'm assuming it's like recycled cardboard.
Yeah, we hope so.
And then this is the paperwork. I don't think we don't care for this, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's chuck that to the side. And then it just has like some setup on how to mount it and where you could go if you need the support. Chuck that to the side. Pull this out here. More paper. More paper. And by the way, it's not USB-C. It is USB-A. So if you have a USB-C laptop, you're going to need like the dongle to adjust it. But it looks like you get a decent length here if you want to plug things in. And of course, they wrap it in like 10 miles of plastic so it doesn't get like messed up during shipping. And this is what always frustrates me when you have to remove all the plastic. But yeah, here it is. This is the Microsoft Modern Webcam. Does it look modern to you guys? You'll have to let us know in the comments. But this is our...
And it looks like there's the arrow for the shutter on there.
Yep.
To kind of swipe up. There you go.
And it feels a little soft to me, like soft to the touch, where you just move it like this. Oh, there's paper on it. That's why. Forgot to remove it. Now we're talking. Now it's a regular shutter.
There we go.
You got your Microsoft logo because you just bought a Microsoft product, and you got the webcam itself here, and you have a ring of light. Now, I'll try to plug it in. Hopefully it doesn't mess up my setup I got going here. But I'll plug it in real quick, and you'll see that, oh, it won't light up because I didn't select it. But if you're using it, this light around here will turn on when it's in use. So you know, oh, hey, someone is looking at me, or hey, I'm on a call. It feels pretty slim and light to me compared to the Logitech that I'm used to using. And I wish I could plug it in and switch to it right now, but that would be a massive headache for Teams and Skype. And I'm sure you don't want to see the room around me, but next week it'll be used on the podcast. So you'll know. So you'll know that if it's a potato webcam or not. But so far it seems like it's promising because Microsoft did put a lot of tech into it. There on the box it says it is a high quality 1080p video camera with HDR. Like I showed you, it has the integrated privacy shutter. It has a mounting system where you could mount it on a tripod like I have it here. And it's certified for Teams because that's what this whole modern lineup is all about. And you'll see everything here on the box. They have features, but yeah, that's that.
Cool. What's our next one up?
Now we have this. It is the Microsoft Modern USB-C speaker. Now, Kareem knows a little secret of mine because I was excited to try this out. So I did unbox it before the podcast, and I went to it later on. So here we go. I pulled out the green tabs of plastic beforehand because I was too excited to get into it. But this is a relatively big box. From the photo I saw during the event when they revealed it, I thought it would be quite small, but it's actually quite big. So once you open it here, you'll see it's like these Surface headphones because it comes in its own little carry case here like this.
Yeah, meant for travel.
And then you would turn it, unzip it, and here you go. I put it in upside down. But yeah, it would be like this, and you would have it here. And this is your speaker. And Microsoft was super thoughtful about the way that you would move it around because you have a cable. And the cable is able to wrap around the bottom of it here.
That's pretty cool.
So you would just put it in like this.
Yeah.
It tucks away. There's nothing hanging out.
That's pretty awesome.
And it is for Teams certified like the rest of the lineup is. So you have your Teams button here. You have your call button here. This is for volume and this is for mute. Now, if I look at the box, I could read to you some of the features. It has a mute control with a status light. So if I plug this in, this light would turn red to let you know it's muted. It has background noise reducing microphones. It is compact, designed with cable storage, like I showed you. It's certified for Teams. That's why it has the Teams logo. And it's a high quality speaker optimized for voice. I don't know what that means, but I'm assuming it's kind of like what they did with the Surface stuff, where it's like what is it, omnidirectional or multi-directional microphones or whatever is going on. But yeah, that's that. And it's pretty light. It's not so heavy. I mean, I could see you chucking this in your pocket even and keeping it in the case like this, and then putting it in your pants pocket and walking around with it. It's pretty nice, and it's USB-C. So that is the one condition here, is that you'll need to get a dongle if you want to plug it in a laptop that's traditional with USB-A ports, but who doesn't have a dongle these days? Everyone has one lying around.
Well, you said it's USB-C, so I mean, it plugs into a Surface just fine. Most devices, at least the ones I've tested in the last year, have all had some version of USB-C. It may not be Thunderbolt, but they have a single USB, if not multiple USB ports. So I think you should be okay.
And then it also has this fabric on top of it, which I really do like how this feels, because this thing is $99. So if you're paying $100 for a speaker, you don't want it to feel cheap. And this actually feels very heavy, very, very premium quality. I know Panos Panay, he tweeted the video out with the Microsoft design team about the thought and the effort that they put into designing this thing. And it definitely feels nice for the price that you pay.
Well, I mean, that's good to know. We'll need to see your reviews about them and how they function. Like I said, looking good is half the battle.
So these are the two products, and I'm not sure if you'll see it because, again, I'm with a really, really weird setup here. But these are the two products. We have the webcam on the left, and we have the speaker on the right. And I'll spend 2 weeks with them. I'll use it on the podcast itself. I'll use it with my computers to listen to music and to do meetings and everything Microsoft says to use it for. And I'll be back in 2 weeks with a full review.
All right, sounds good.
So let me just put all this stuff away, and I'll be back for our next segment.
Yeah. While you're doing...
And now you could go ahead.
All right. So as part of our fast recap, which again, I am promising you is not very long, we're going to cover just some of, where are they at? Make sure I get the right ones down. Talked about Satya Nadella becoming a board member at Microsoft. So not only is he the CEO of Microsoft, he has also now been named chairman of the board. And I believe that happened 2 days ago. What that means in actuality is he has a vote now on some of the stuff that happens at Microsoft. He has, as a CEO, has the vision, the direction, and execution as far as some of the investments and spendings and things like that. He now has a bigger say in that. He's replacing John Thompson, who was, I believe, he was on the board as lead independent director. Again, Nadella will retain his CEO position, but now is taking over John Thompson's position. The next thing we have in our fast recap is Xbox One gamers playing next-gen games via the cloud. Cloud gaming. Microsoft is, promising more backwards compatibility with its Xbox devices, Xbox One. Some people thought was going to be at the end of life because of all of the push towards xCloud, the talk about new Xbox games, which was discussed at the Bethesda event, which we'll kind of cover in a second. So, it didn't look very promising for those of us who were still stuck in Xbox Ones who couldn't get Xbox Series X, S, or X, or the One S, or, One X devices. But Microsoft
I'm back.
Yeah, Microsoft has found a way around that by using the cloud. The same way it's going to bring its Xbox gaming to PCs, it will do that for Xbox One gamers. So if you're still stuck with a Xbox One device like myself, just know that they were going to bring the new updated versions of games through the cloud to Xbox One devices as, again, backward support. The last bit of our fast recap is the fix for blurry text, and that was on the news and interest section. Again, I believe it's just a DPI setting that they probably finally enacted. So those of you who are having issues just kind of seeing that, the scaling has been adjusted. If and when you get Windows 11, you'll see that it's been vastly improved already on that. So I don't know if this was just something in the roadmap and it was just timing as far as the release for these things, but that has been fixed. And it should be rolling out if you haven't gotten it already. Should be coming with like a cumulative update on your system, so check for that. That is our fast recap. Told you, pretty short this time.
I think you did it in like 5 or 6 minutes, or even less than when I would join you and do it.
Yeah, so now we can move on to the fun stuff, which is the Bethesda recap.
Yeah, there were a lot of games. We sat through it after our podcast ended on Sunday, all of us, and we watched it. And Microsoft had over 30 games for us, and 27 of those games are coming to Game Pass, with the 3 exceptions being Battlefield 2042, Far Cry 6, and Diablo 2 Resurrected. But Microsoft had a lot of surprises for us. The first of which was Starfield, which is Bethesda's brand new IP that will launch exclusively on Xbox and PC in fall of 2022. They didn't specifically say what kind of game it was. They just showed like a trailer for it, but it looks like it's an open world adventure game for space. And then
it's in the same vein as God, what was the really big one from last generation? No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
They've described it as kind of a space exploration game. It looks like it has some action bits to it as well, so we'll see.
And then they also finally showed off Halo Infinite. We saw some of the in-game. They said it was with in-game engine rendered through the in-game engine. We saw the Master Chief talking to Cortana, and we saw some gameplay from that. And they confirmed the multiplayer mode and the single player coming holiday 2021, but they didn't say specifically when. I'm assuming maybe the team still has to work on the game. And then other than that, the news that I was talking about that
wait. You're about to skip over probably the biggest important part for people who are fans of it. Support for 120 FPS.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
For those of us who are an Xbox Series X. I'm not one of them, but if you were lucky enough to get one, you'll be able to shoot people at 120 frames per second.
Yeah, that's a big one. I'm glad that you stopped me in my tracks and made me go back.
Well, I just know that you're about to gush up our next session.
Yeah, because I really just wanted to get to the Microsoft Flight Simulator news, and it's finally coming to Xbox Series X and Series S, which I said last week was going to happen, and it did happen, so I was not crazy there. And another surprise that Microsoft pulled was Forza Horizon 5. They skipped Forza Motorsport, and they went straight to Forza Horizon 5, which is coming to next-gen consoles only. Sorry. It is coming to next-gen consoles and also the original Xbox One. But on next-gen consoles, it would run at 4K and 120 frames per second. That was what really surprised me, because the trailer for that was super, super beautiful. They showed off mountains in Mexico. The game is set in Mexico, by the way. And they showcased a desert. And they said that they were able to individually render all of the cactus leaves on the cactus itself, which is just showing you how powerful the next-gen consoles are.
I think using a setup which they call volumetric lighting system and ray tracing, obviously, to kind of render all of the super finite details in the game. Which again, if you were to just look at it, it is the screen caps, just the still images alone, are on par with Flight Simulator as far as realism. So, you could be fooled into thinking that, you were actually on the racing fields in Mexico.
And they also announced some new kind of gameplay for it. They have the Eliminator Battle Royale mode where you'll be able to like knock down bowling pins and stuff.
Oh, it's a co-op. It's a co-op team play, basically, where you can, as a group of, I think, up to four, you are given tasks and you need goals to chase down. And as a group, you're driving your cars. You basically do a melee event with these.
And there are also a bunch of other games. I mean, we already pushed past an hour on our podcast, and we don't want to keep you here for too long. But there are a bunch of other games. Psychonauts 2 was one of them. I think that is an Xbox exclusive, if I'm not mistaken. That is one of the other games. We just hit the highlights here and talked about the big Xbox titles. But if you want to learn more, our Laurent, he put together a nice recap. So visit the site and click the Xbox link at the top and read through all of the stories that we missed. I'm opening it for you if you have anything that you want to add.
As far as the gaming stuff, no. I'm stuck on an Xbox One, so all of this is kind of over my head. I mean, I'm super excited for the xCloud stuff coming to Xbox One, so I'll probably have more to talk about. I'll be more on par with Laurent as far as the gaming coverage. I've been left behind, so to speak, because I haven't gotten my hands on Xbox One X just yet. But again, I'm super excited for all of this stuff. I'm very happy that you can see the details that they've put in over the year for Halo Infinite, just by the body armor alone for Master Chief. It's crazy detailed. So hopefully this fall we'll be able to get around to playing it.
And I think we got through all of our topics. So now that means it is time for my favorite segment and your favorite segment, which is...
Before we get to the end, we have to talk about the what's next for a hybrid work event, which should be coming up. And I believe that they'll be talking about stuff for whiteboard apps in Teams, the fluid components for Teams, this kind of stuff that we had talked about as far as Microsoft being able to take sections of its apps, its productivity apps, and place them in other ones without having to reopen a new one. So if you're in Excel, you can copy paste an entire Excel portion of Excel, place it into Word, place it into PowerPoint, place it into what's the other one? Word, PowerPoint, Excel. There's another one, I can't think of it, but you can basically whiteboard as well. You can put all that stuff in there. So basically, if you want to just see the full power of this, take one empty whiteboard and you start pulling in stuff from Word, pulling in stuff from Excel, pulling in stuff from PowerPoint into that thing. The last and third thing I believe is going to be, they plan out to roll out an immersive layout named
Teams Rooms.
Teams Rooms, which is it going to be called Front Row, or is it just Teams Rooms now? Or is it changing the name?
They have some updates for Teams Rooms, and the feature is known as Front Row. They're basically redesigning the way that the screen looks, so that people who are at home and who aren't able to be in the room with you, they'll look like they'll appear on the screen as like little tiles at the bottom. Not tiles, but like you see their figure at the bottom of the screen, which is more natural. So it'll feel like they're in the room with you while you're doing a meeting.
Versus the stadium seating that we had before, where it looked like a telethon or something.
Yep.
And that's it. I mean, that's, again, Microsoft has a ton of events. They're going to cover all this stuff. We've covered it briefly in individual articles. Rabia, which is our Teams professor, has covered it in depth. So if you can't find the specific article you're looking for, type in her name on our website and all the Teams information should show up. With that being said, now we can get on to your favorite section of the podcast.
I'm so behind this week because we had Windows 11. We just had our unboxing, and now I'm so excited that I lost track of time.
Well, we're going to be talking about in the week ahead, again, the Microsoft Developer Event, which we'll be following shortly. If not, is it a day after, I think, or a couple hours after the event?
It's at 3 p.m. and the main event is at 11, and this is at 3 Eastern.
So it's the same day, So basically, this is just a mini build, to be honest with you. The way it's shaping up is all the stuff that we missed from Windows Talk in build this year has been ported over to this event, and developers are getting their own discussions or discussions with Microsoft execs about all of this new stuff. So again, just a small build on next week, and then we have hardware.
Yeah, there's a new Dell Latitude 7320 is coming to me eventually, I hope. FedEx didn't deliver it today, but this is their take on the Microsoft Surface Pro X. It has slim bezels. It has a keyboard that is exactly like the Surface Pro X with the little pen that's housed in it. But you know what the big difference is? Instead of having a Qualcomm chip inside, this is Tiger Lake, this is Core i7, this is full-blown Windows. This is not your hankety-jankety lockdown version of Windows that won't run 64-bit apps. This is full-blown Windows on a screen that is almost all bezel and has the same kickstand, has the same layout. But of course, Dell puts their custom touch on it, and it looks different. It has a brushed aluminum finish. There's a fingerprint reader on the back. They have an optional NFC card accessory, which you could magnetically attach to the back. They add their touches to it to make it different. But this is something that I'm very excited to get my hands on because a lot of people called it Microsoft Surface Pro X competitor. And I know you were hands-on with the X12. Was it the X12 detachable?
Yeah,
a couple of weeks ago.
Thing. It was pretty awesome.
I'm going to try to compare it to that as well as the Surface Pro X to see what other manufacturers are doing with Microsoft's reference design for the Surface Pro lineup.
Yeah, you'll need to. We'll need to coordinate so I can give you some of the results from some of the standard benchmarking tests, so you can at least put them in your report, just so we can have a one-to-one. Because that's what I did with the X12. Was I ran some benchmark, because again my workflow is very similar on the very devices. So unless it's super janky, I don't really notice all of the incremental changes. But if you run like a Cinebench or a Geekmark or something like that, we can see if there have been some things that Dell has done to tweak it a little bit. Now, what I've noticed over the last 6 months of Tiger Lake chips is that Intel has managed to streamline the processing. So, there aren't very big highs and lows between manufacturers, which is a good and a bad thing, depending on, what you need from the chip. But I think it's pretty cool.
And that said, I think we got to the end of our show. So I'll
Finally,
leave you
thank you everybody for sticking with us.
It's been 1 hour and 30 minutes at this point. This is one of our longest show yet. We had a lot of guests. We had a guest and we had a lot to talk about. So thank you everyone for sticking with us. But now it's time for us to go.
Yeah, we're getting out of here. I am at Mindhead1 on Twitter. Again, Mindhead1. Also follow on Microsoft on Twitter as well. Again, for all of our information, for the giveaways, the reviews, the articles, the latest snarky responses to other tech news. So again, on Microsoft, and you are
a Backjourn.
Yes, again on Twitter. So we want to thank you for sticking this long. Now go enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.